Good evening, everybody. I wanted to give you a little bit of backstory into me, why I became a coach, what I love most about coaching, and also why I decided to found my own team, Tribe Redefine, what that means for me, why that title was so important, and give you a little backstory in case you're interested in joining us, joining me, and growing with our team. So for those of you that may or may not know me, my name is Pamela Bussarello. I'm a mom of 3. I'm a high school English teacher. I am a Beachbody coach, and I'm the face behind To Fit a Motherhood, and also a puzzling enthusiast. My husband and I go through these phases of doing, 1,000 to 2,000 piece puzzles, and we are in the process of one in the spot where I do my live videos, so puzzles around. But just wanted to really connect with those of you who have joined our first look into fitness coaching with Tribe Redefine, so you can understand who I am and really see hopefully a little part of you in me. Facebook and social media of all kinds, Instagram, all that, they're fun ways to catch up with those people who we've maybe lost touch with. They're also cool ways to interact and get to know new people, but they're not always the real deal, and they tend to show more of the highlight reel. And though I try to be as real and raw and honest as possible, you may have just caught some of my more inspirational or more happy posts. And I just want you to see that I am a real person with plenty of struggles, plenty on my plate, but this coaching thing is really awesome to me and means a lot to me. So here's my story. It starts back in 2015, and in 2015 I became pregnant with my 3rd child, Kellen, who is behind me in the pack and play drinking his bottle. He's a 1.5 years now, and it was a very routine pregnancy to start with. I had a 4 and 2-year-old at home, so I was running around like crazy, but I was enjoying it, feeling good, and staying decently fit during my pregnancy as well. I was a vegetarian at the time because I have a chronic autoimmune kidney disease actually, and it was initially recommended by a doctor that I was a vegetarian. So I did struggle with some anemia, and I'd have some lightheadedness here and there, but for the most part, it was a very routine pregnancy. And then at the 20-week ultrasound, we went for the gender reveal, the big anatomy scan, and everything seemed to be going according to plan. The ultrasound tech was being really interactive with my husband and I, was showing us all these cute, look at us, or look at the little toes and look at the little fingers, and we had asked that she keep the gender a surprise and keep it in an envelope so we could go home and share it with our 2 big kids at the same time. And it was some time into the ultrasound where suddenly she stopped pointing things out to us and she turned the screen. And I assumed, okay, so now the anatomy is there and it's very obvious and we have one of each at home, so she figures I'm gonna know, oh, the dogs. Oh, Lord. She figures I'm gonna know exactly what she's looking at and she doesn't want me to see it. But that continued for the remainder of ultrasound. The tech remained rather quiet, stopped pointing out anything on the screen, and just kind of kept to herself. So now my husband and I go to the exam room to meet with one of the OBs in the practice, and to just have her give us the reading of the ultrasound. And this has been very routine with all the others walk in like, oh, looks like you're having a healthy baby. We'll see you again in 4 weeks for your next appointment. Any questions? That kind of a thing. Instead, this doctor walked in and she sat down and she started checking things off a list. Looks like the baby has 5 fingers on each hand. Looks like the baby is this. Looks like the baby is that. Looks like the baby is this. And my husband and I looked at each other and we were just bracing for the thing, right? That thing that was going to really change this appointment, change everything that we expected this pregnancy and this child to be. Because we had never had an experience like that before where it was so specific, in that little follow-up. And sure enough, it came. And the doctor said, and I'll never forget her words, but just want to let you know, the ultrasound tech noticed a shadow in the chest cavity. And it could be nothing, but we're going to send you to maternal fetal medicine and they will confirm with their big boy machines. Do you have any questions? I looked at Mike and I took a breath and I said, no, I do not have any questions. Because in my immediate mind, I do not want to know what it may or may not be until I get to that big boy machine you talk of. Because I am the type that's going to Google and look things up and find out more than I need to know. And instead of her saying, okay, no problem, we'll make an appointment, she said, well, just so you're aware, it could be something called a CCAM or a CPAM. And she started to talk from there, and I just went into a blur, mentally trying to memorize these acronyms that she gave us and knowing exactly what I'm going to do when I get into the car. I'm going to look these up while Mike drives us home. And that's exactly what I did. I got into the car and I Googled CCAM and I Googled CPAM, and the first thing that popped up was the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia website with this very detailed page on this condition, which is basically a series of lung lesions. They can be minor, they can be major. They can cause heart defects, they can do nothing. They can stop growing by a certain point, they can continue to grow until the baby is born. They can lead to cancer, they can lead to chronic pneumonias, they can lead to all of these different issues. And we had no clue at this point if this is what she saw and if this was, what degree it was. So we had about a 2 to 3 week wait before we got to go to maternal fetal medicine, and those were the longest 2 to 3 weeks of my life. Once we got there, the diagnosis was confirmed, and we were told we needed to come back in another 2 weeks for another ultrasound, a little bit more intensive ultrasound, so they could try to measure and see if the CCAM was furthering in its development or if it was shrinking, because there's a certain point where the lungs will start to correct themselves and where the CCAM could actually top off. Turned out after a couple of weeks it was growing. So maternal fetal medicine decided to send us to none other than the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which was a bit of a relief because, first off, when I Googled, the first thing that came up was Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. From what I researched, that the average children's hospital performs 2 to 3 CCAM related procedures in a year. The Children's Hospital of Philadelphia performs 170 in a year. So I'll take it. I'll take my odds there that we're in the best hands. And sure enough, we were in the best hands. I went for routine ultrasounds and different types of scans throughout the rest of my pregnancy, and my God, my pregnancy changed. The doctors didn't tell me I had to stop working out, but I did. The doctors didn't tell me I had to start eating meat, but I did. The doctors didn't tell me I had to change anything, but I did, because I had such guilt and such fear that anything I had done prior was causing this. And hi, Casey, and I couldn't help but fear that it was my fault, as we all moms do. And that doesn't change. Once they're born, we continue to second guess ourselves and to fear what's the fault, Luckily, to give this long story a bit of a shorter spin, when he was about 30 weeks, it was confirmed that his CCAM seemed to be reaching a point that he would not need surgery in utero, which was an option, and that he could be born via natural delivery. They actually prefer a vaginal birth to push the air out of the lungs and get the lungs started, that he could be born at our own hospital, and we wouldn't need to be at CHOP for his birth, and that we would return 6 to 8 weeks post for his surgery. Surgery was inevitable. We weren't getting out of that. And at that point, from everything I read and from the fabulous doctors we met, I didn't want to get out of that. It was just so perfect how everything came together. We felt like we were getting the best care. And it was right around the time Kellen was born, which was a week late, P.S. So he held my worry a little bit longer. I started to see a woman I'd been following on social media for a while then was posting about a post-baby body boot camp that was starting in January. He was a November baby, and I did the math real quick, and I would be about 7 weeks postpartum when this boot camp began. So I immediately texted my husband at work and told him that this is what I wanted for Christmas. I needed to find a way to reconnect with myself. I spent the last 21 weeks of my pregnancy stressed about this baby. And at that point, I was spending every single day worried about him and waiting for his surgery. And because of that, my mind was so consumed. It was consumed with his health. I didn't want to go to holidays. We had Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas. I didn't want to take him places because I was afraid he'd get sick. I didn't want people to be around my other kids because I was afraid they'd get sick. I just was so consumed. And all the doctors said to not be that way, to just live a normal life and he would be fine and his surgery would take care of it. But I couldn't. And I saw this as a way that I could connect with other grown-ups virtually. I could connect with myself specifically, and I could reignite who I really was as a person. And that's exactly what happened. And I need to explain the timing of this because it's so important to my coaching story. Kellen was scheduled for his C-cam removal on January 8th, when he was exactly or just a little shy of 8 weeks postpartum. Our boot camp was starting that Monday, January 3rd. And my husband said, do you think you can commit to this in the hospital? I mean, I planned on staying in the hospital with Kellen for however long he needed to stay there for his surgery. And, he's like, will you be able to do the workouts? Will you be able to do the fitness? And I said, I have to. I have to do whatever I can do to have some control, because in those days when I brought him to that hospital and they rolled him out for his surgery and he had a lobe of his lung removed and he was hooked up to feeding tubes and he was hooked up to drains and he was in so much pain for the first 12 hours that he did not stop crying. I had no control over any of that. I had none, but I had complete control over what I could do for me to be my best self. And moms and ladies, there is nothing more we can give to the people around us than to be our best selves. Nothing more. Nothing more important that we can do than to be the best versions of who we are. What's up, Kellen? Did you drop your baba? I think he dropped his baba. I'm going to hold on for a second. I'm going to walk you for a second. And you could see this cutie, because why not? Oh, you dropped your baba. Ah, here you go. Say hi. Hi. He is so good now, it's not even funny. So anyway, I woke up the morning of his surgery and I did my workout. I packed overnight oats, that's where my obsession with overnight oats comes from, for the first time ever and brought them to the hospital. I had packets of my shake with me, and when my husband would visit, because he stayed home with our other kids and he would come for most of the day, I would ask him to make me another shake. I was having one for breakfast, one for lunch, or one for lunch and one for dinner every day. And just found myself because I was putting in effort to make choices for me. And it's like what they say on an airplane, right? You have to secure your oxygen mask before you can secure those around you. I was grasping at straws for months. Here I found me. I found a way to do what I needed each day to be my best self, and it made me present in his life. It made me present for his surgery. It made me stop worrying about all the things that weren't in my control. I became much clearer in what was in my possession as something I could do or not do, and what was not. And it was within days of joining that challenge group that I thought to myself, I need to give this chance to as many women as possible. Because within a week, this experience had changed my life, completely changed my life. I had not even lost a pound or inches or anything yet, but I felt so much stronger of a purpose and so much stronger of the fact that I can be a good mom when I am good to myself. And that is